Hey, what is up, everyone? It's Rich. All right, welcome to the video. My apologies for the little bit of a break. I've been busy working on Blaster Kid, and I'm like when I'm focused, and it's tough to pull me away from the page. But anyway, so this is the second time that I've done this video. The first one I didn't upload. It was a pretty long video, and it's an early Gary Frank issue on MOTORMOUTH, and I loved this comic. It was so good. And this is early work from Gary. I have a couple of stories that I can tell about Gary Frank, like my fandom of his work. But let's just get right into this and start checking it out. I hope everyone's been well. And this is MOTORMOUTH. Actually, I'm going to have to not be in full screen mode because I want to go in order. Cover is really nice. I'm not familiar with the character MOTORMOUTH, but based on kind of my looking at the book before, I'm going to assume it's this girl right here. But I always kind of thought MOTORMOUTH was like a tough male character with robe, like kind of almost like car parts, but maybe I'm thinking of something else. And we got Nick Fury in it, but man, I can only guess how old Gary Frank would have been here, but he had to have been in his early 20s, and I mean, he comes in like rock solid. So anyway, let's get into the actual book itself. My cat's like, what, you doing a video already? So we've got Gary Frank and Cam Smith. I mean, honestly, like, people a lot of times will ask me who my influences are or were or whatever, but Cam Smith was definitely one of the early favorite inkers that I had, hands down. His work was so impressive to me, and this is not as refined as Cam God. This is actually a little more heavy-handed and a little more, I would consider it, like from the generation before, but he turned into like a cyborg a couple of years later, and by like 93, 94, 95, man, his lines were sharp and accurate. This is really good, though. Very tough pose to draw. Front view, walking forward, can always runs the risk of looking a little awkward. He does a pretty nice job with it. You're going to see attention to detail. I would consider this almost like a big budget comic, meaning that he really didn't skimp on anything. And it's interesting. So the editor-in-chief is Paul Neary. I had mentioned before that in one of the other books we looked at, it says Paul Neary presents. And I was a bit confused by that, because this is what I'm talking about, though. Look at this attention to detail. It really made me want to go back. So my first time discovering Gary Frank is a really funny story. If Gary ever sees this, he'll probably chuckle. But I was a big fan of the Hulk when I first started collecting comics, and I don't remember who was doing Hulk right before Gary Frank came on, but I was reading it. I liked it. I had picked up some back issues of Dale Keown stuff, so I was aware that Dale Keown had done it. And I went to the store on a Wednesday, picked up my comics for the week, and got home, and I read the Hulk that Gary Frank did, and I was like, this guy is incredible. I don't know who this penciler is, but dude, like, this is insane shit. And I was so impressed by the work, I literally went back down to the comic book store immediately after reading it, and I bought like 2 more copies of the comic, because I was like, this guy is going to be huge. If this is his first comic, this thing is going to be so collectible, because he's such a badass. I didn't know that he had done this other work. It didn't really matter anyway. I mean, but I really liked his work. He draws a very pretty Hulk. Gary's Franks are always very like attractive looking on model and stuff like that. And so he draws what my friend Carlos would call pretty Hulk. But oh man, it was so good. But yeah, I was just blown away by Gary's stuff, and so I was an immediate big fan. This is all really cool. Some classic early 90s like rendering and the way that they detail the stuff. I mean, I'm a fan of it, you know. I like this stuff. I think there's a funness to it that sometimes in more realistic comics, or whatever you want to call it, like as they got more refined, sometimes it loses a little bit of that I don't know, like hand-drawn look, or it just, there's a charm to this work. This is really nice right here. This was the ad that I saw that got me, that I immediately wanted to check out that Warheads book, because I saw this and I was like, man, this is like Michael Golden meets Killian Plunkett, I think was what I was thinking in my mind when I saw it, and I had to see more. That small detail is nuts, but anyway, we already looked at that book, and right. gosh, everybody kind of drew like this back then. It's so funny because this is like so similar to like just a lot of 90s books. This is 60% of the comic books in like 1992 to 90, well, yeah, probably 92 to 93. It's a hot style. Gary is his own man, though. I'm not saying that about him. I'm just saying that when you went to the comic book store, a lot of this stuff looked like this. Just the lighting in general, the line work and stuff is so funny. It doesn't really matter. Look at this. See, and that was what I was going to say is so seeing this comic made me immediately want to go back and look at that first Hulk issue that I got just to see what it was that I saw in it. Was it this detailed? I can't remember. I remember an issue or two in, there was another big character with, like, I think kind of reddish hair, like almost hair this color, and a beard. Maybe this third issue that he did. So it's been a long time. I haven't seen this stuff in years. But man, oh gosh. Yeah, I remember when I went to get, Wildstorm was considering hiring me, and so I had a meeting with Alex Garner, who I was going to assist, and he asked me pretty much, I think it was one of the first or second things he said to me was, who are your influences? And my answer was Cam Smith and Alex. So that's funny, but I really I'd never even really considered that as a question. Funny enough, because I wasn't a professional, and so no one had ever asked me who my inking influences were. It's a funny thing, but at some point you cross that bridge where someone would hit you up on that. But I was just working at home, trying to get good. And I didn't have a peer group really that was giving me feedback on my work at that point. Love this. But you see what I mean? Like we're only a few pages into this comic. I already feel like I've almost seen a whole book. It's crazy. And there's a lot left. That was the one thing that I noticed when I did the original video, was it just kept going and going. And now comics used to be a little bit longer. It sounds funny saying that, but I think most companies do 20-page books now. When I got hired, they were 22, and I think at points maybe they were 24 pages. So this might have been back in the old days when they had 24-page books. The days of yore. Monkey. There you go. That is a wild face. Everybody's crazy. This is like Eddie from Iron Maiden before he went nuts. And then she's got the posh hairstyle. And she's wearing an REM button. She's into music, apparently. Edgy. That punk band, REM. Probably, honestly, if you're younger than a certain age, you might not even know who REM is. They're kind of, I consider them folky alternative. I'm sure not all their music is that way, but again, big scenes, big settings, big ideas, and fancy shoes, sneakers, and a Sony bag. Little ad for Class Wars. I think there might have been... These guys would do little shout-outs to each other in the comics. It was funny. I can't remember if there was one in this book, but I kind of think that there might have been. But yeah, it seems like they kind of make little references. Blast. I saw the word blast, and I saw right there. I was like, whoa, not Blaster Kid. Please tell me that Marvel doesn't have Blaster Kid. No. Yeah, they were doing little sneak-in shout-outs to each other in these books, which I think is kind of cool. Marvel UK definitely had a thing. They're like an indie record label, like that's under a big umbrella of a big company, aka Marvel. Look at this. Isn't this freaking awesome? I bet a lot of people that are watching this video have never seen this book. There was definitely people that were big fans of the Marvel UK book, and they kind of they said what I kind of just echoed a second ago, which is like if you like one of them, you kind of like the whole line. As soon as I just saw the covers for them on like one of those sites where they have like old comic books in RAR form, and I saw the covers and I was like, I want to look at that. I need that in my life. Like that looks like something fun and will if you get like not in a rut, but just like you mentally, like if you focus on anything like comics or art too long, you can get like a little, like even a favorite TV show, it can kind of wear on you a little bit. This brought it all back because it just, the colors are fun. I mean, this is a huge environment. I love that he turned the corner here, too. I thought that was such a nice touch, but a really, really good call, to be 100% honest, because I'll explain one thing really quick. I usually throw in a little bit of, like, penciling advice. So a lot of times what will happen is you'll have a really good idea for a drawing, and maybe it focuses on this area right here. And what unfortunately will happen is you'll have, like, this much of a page left, and you're like, fuck. It'll happen to me on splash pages. I only have a mouse right now, but let me grab a color so you can see what I'm talking about. But like, say you've got a splash page. I did a review for someone yesterday that had the same thing, and it was Deadpool on a unicorn cutting a guy's head off. But he had the horse right here. But what he had was he had all ground right here, like dirt. They were fighting in like a car lot where you, like a junkyard. But he put a big tire right here. But yeah, you end up with all this real estate that you don't know what to do with, because the main point of the drawing all sits like right here. And Gary had that probably here. And having this come in the scene is great. But he still needed something to end this. And this wall continuing to go all the way off the page would have kind of been a weird shape. But this really, really sells the composition to me. I think it was a really brilliant call, and it really looks cool. It adds a lot of depth. So kudos to you, Mr. Frank. Hero Frank. This is cool. Was this the page with the... No, maybe not. Yeah, back at this time, you could sneak in a little bit more. I think the companies are more conservative on that. You know, they don't want to get sued. They don't want you know, to offend anyone. So they have to be a little cautious of like, it's like, what's the graffiti that you put on the wall? You know, because they've gotten in trouble with that, where people have snuck in messages that stir up some whatever. Their costumes are actually really, really funny. This guy's in particular, his shorts and stuff like that. I'm assuming that Gary didn't design this. He may have, but yeah. Oh my gosh. This is funny too. I'll point this out really fast, because I've talked about this before. One of the hardest things to actually like design for characters is hairstyles. I'm pretty good at drawing hair, but man, I'll tell you, like you know, you have a villain or a hero, and then you go, all right, what's this character's hair gonna look like? Because if you give them like short hair but it's kind of brushed, then it looks like they take care of their hair. But if they're crazy and you give them, you know, a hairstyle, that sends a different vibe. It's really, really interesting. Long hair, you know, on a female character would mean that it would have maintenance. But if you've got a soldier character, well, she probably have shorter hair, you know. So it's a lot to you know, do. Ponytail sends one message, you know. It's very trippy. But yeah, I've found that's the hard thing to settle on. I'm just gonna shut this. We've seen it times. That's nice though too. Again, this was Gary Eckerstein, I think is how you pronounce his last name. I'm probably butchering it, but yeah, really, really cool stuff. I've got some interesting information on it from people. This building sags a little bit. I probably would have just ended it here and had it a little bit more like that's a very, like, it probably is going to the right vanishing point, but I kind of will tell like people that sometimes, and like in reviews, you can find a spot where it's not so extreme, because it just looks like the building is like almost like melting. His car's nice right here. Trash can's good. Cool weaponry. I got this. The story's winding down. The sneakers did it. You can see right here. This is a funny one too. This is another one where it's like, how do you use the space? In the first issue of Crystal Planet, I had to do some stuff outside, and it ended up looking probably more like this than something totally awesome that would blow people's minds. But you know, you have to kind of work through this stuff. Not all, like, as much as you practice going into comics to be quote unquote prepared to do it, the only way to really learn it and to grow is you have to draw stuff that you're not familiar with and that isn't always going to work out great. This is nice. Really, really good inks. Man, you can really see Cam Smith still giving this just a ton of love right here. This is really tight. It's really, really nicely inked. Cam is a good example. He's ending this book as strong as he started. That's a really important thing to be able to do, is you don't want to wind down on a book where the pages get progressively more careless or less detail. If anything, you kind of want to push it forward. It definitely benefits. Gary's so good at big guys, you know. Never was sure if he was a big fan of Dale Keown. I don't see like a lot of Keown in his stuff, but Keown and him definitely have similarities where they can really handle a big figure well. Still to this day, I think in my life, I've only drawn maybe one time a big character like this. I think it's on one of the pieces that I'm working on, but yeah, I've never really drawn, I don't know, they sometimes will call them brutes. Sometimes they're bigger than brutes, but yeah, I haven't really had a situation to have to draw gigantic dudes. And we're getting to the end of this. Love all these old ads and stuff like that. I think they're really, really fun. Marvel used to do books when I was a little kid that were like activity books, and I would occasionally, like, my family would try like do a vacation during the summer, and I would usually end up with a few of those by the end of the trip. Probably bought at like truck stops or little markets and stuff like that just to keep me occupied. So I was, you know, like 8 years old or something. But I really loved them, and it was an opportunity, one, to copy like drawings of Spider-Man. I was saying to a friend of mine, like, the 3 characters at Marvel that I have like nostalgia towards, just from being a fan as a kid, is the Hulk, Spider-Man, and Ghost Rider. Those are probably the 3 that I have a soft spot in my heart for. Past that, you know, it's kind of fair game at Marvel. This is nice. Really, really good walking away pose. That's tough to do. He keeps his character's shoulders very, very even. You know, like, he really doesn't have a tilt, and that's impressive to not have it look stiff. But, you know, obviously, like, you know, they always tell you, like, oh, you know, have this kind of thing going on, especially because this leg is supporting it. But he doesn't really do it, and it still looks dynamic. So, again, kind of a proof that he really is so good. Wow, they actually have the F word? Oh, sort of. Close enough. That's surprising. Back in the wild days. This book feels long, right? It's got to be extra pages. I don't know. I wasn't counting. Do they have page numbers? But it would be with ads, I think. Let's see. No. It feels like a long book. He draws suits pretty good too. He has all this stuff down. I mean, that was another thing that I think I had said. If I didn't say it in a video that's up, I said it in the other Gary Frank video that I shot. But yeah, like, something about working for Marvel UK really brought a great thing out of these artists, where I think it was a real honor to be hired by Marvel UK. And so they got really good talent, but really good talent that wanted to draw great stuff, you know. So they really put a lot of effort into it, and it shows. I'm pretty sure he drew Nick Fury in some of the Hulk issues. I kind of remember. I mean, this is a classic Gary Frank face from the time. But real nice figures. You know, people ask sometimes who are good artists to learn from. I mean, someone like a Gary Frank or Alan Davis definitely wouldn't be a bad place to start, just to get some of your comic book shapes down. You don't really like people will use the word anatomy, and anatomy means different things to different people, but we'll just call it comic book style drawings. I wouldn't get so focused on the detail that they put in, but if you could get these shapes going where you can move them around, kind of like an action figure, you'd be on your way. This is really nice, kind of a classic, another classic shot. And what do we got? I thought this was funny because I'm assuming this is just a coloring thing, but that yellow swipe across his teeth is like the color's like drop the mic at the end, and he's like, I'm out. Yellow teeth for you, buddy. It's over. It's over. So, all right, you guys have a great day. We'll end on the MOTORMOUTH ad really quick. This is very, very cool shit. And yeah, I'll be back this weekend. I'm gonna do one more Marvel UK book, and then next week I'll definitely be able to start promoting Blaster Kid. I'm right on the precipice of putting the Indiegogo page back up. I probably will put it up early next week. I need to remember how to do it, but yeah. So I'll have the pre-launch page up, and we're moving ahead. So it's exciting, and I'll keep everyone posted on what's going on. I'm doing a probably an hour-long question and answer from my Patreon today. If you haven't checked out my Patreon, you made it to the end of this video. My Patreon's got over 700 videos. I would say 500 of them are inking and penciling videos. So if you've seen my work and you're interested in how I think about art, how I explain art and stuff like that, how I grew as an artist, that's a good place to start. I mean, honestly, I could say, to be 1,000% honest, doing 700 videos for Patreon is part of the reason that I've improved so much, because I've done so many lessons and reviews and then just videos on stuff. You know, it's like I'll see a need for, people don't know how to draw clothes, so I'll do a bunch of videos on clothes, you know, or they don't know how to draw anatomy or dynamic figures, and just doing that over and over and over again for 3 years really just kind of was like, that was what I needed. So anyway, it's a very, very cool spot. But I'm gonna make I think a preemptive announcement there today about Blaster Kid, and then it'll be cool. So all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good one. Bye.